diligently to the degree that I guess he can't come in the room no more. I see some signs on the door. Can't come in the room. Amen. All right. So I am glad though. I am excited for that. So I don't want to hold us long. So we're going to get down to it so that we can go on home. Amen. Turn with me in your Bibles to the book of Psalms. Psalm 40. 40th Psalm. 40th Psalm. You have it, you ought to be standing. Amen. Stand, reverence the reading of God's word. If you're able to stand, stand. Psalm 40. And I want to read in your hearing just a few verses. Just the first 3 verses. Psalm 40, beginning at verse number 1, is there that you'll find these words recorded. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in him. I waited patiently on the Lord. He heard my cry. I want to talk about, just for a few moments for the time that we have shared together, what happens when you wait on God. What happens when you wait on God. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. What happens when you wait on God? I certainly need your prayers. As we look at this text, even before we can get to answering our question, our central question, what happens when we wait on God? There are two central truths that seem to be tucked away in this text. Two central truths that I think we need to make sure we have a handle on before we proceed any further. The first of the two central truths that seem to be latent within this passage is that God only responds to us when God is ready. God only responds to us when God is ready. He does not respond to us just because we cry out to him in earnest. He does not respond to us just because we raise our voices and turn a proper phrase. He does not respond to us because we put the these in the right place and the thous in the right place. He does not respond to us because we roll around on the floor and because we cry and because we do all the kinds of things that we do. He does not respond to us just because we think that he's supposed to. But he responds to us only when he is ready. And we know that because the psalmist said, I waited patiently on the Lord, and he turned to me and heard my cry. There is the indication there that there is some time that has lapsed in his praying to God. There's indication there that he has been on his knees for a while. There's indication there that his prayer has escalated. Because he says, I cried to the Lord. And I wonder if he began just talking to the Lord. But after a while, when things were getting more difficult and he found that there was nothing happening, he began to cry out the more earnestly. And so it just lets us know that when we call on the Lord, he only calls on us when he gets ready. You wonder why he does that. I believe he does that to make sure that we don't get the roles reversed. To make sure that we understand that it is he that is God. And it's he that made us and not we ourselves, that he remains in control at all times, and that we don't just rub him like a genie in a lamp and get him to jump when we say jump. He sometimes, I think, just holds back so that we can understand and remember what the relationship is really all about and who's really in control of the relationship. He responds when he gets good and ready. If you don't believe me, you could ask Job. Job will tell you, yes, I was in a bad situation. Didn't know what was going on in my life. My children were killed. My cattle was destroyed. My land, everything was ravished. And even my body, I had some health issues. And my wife turned on me. And all the time I was calling on God and complaining to God for 37 chapters. And all the way, 37 chapters, it wasn't until the 38th chapter of my story that God responded to me. And I found out that he did that only because he wanted me to know that he is God. And that all he's really responsible for doing is being God. He does not have to do anything else. He does not have to prove himself. He does not have to do stuff because I say it or you say it. He does whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it because he is God. We wrestle with this idea of why does God allow bad things to happen, and why did this happen to my family, and why did this happen to me, and why is this going on in my life, and all this kind of stuff. Well, the bottom line is he's God. And whatever God wants to do is what God will do. So that's the sense of truth that's found right here in this text, that God sometimes only responds to us when God gets ready. If he has not responded, maybe he's just not ready. Maybe he's got something else in mind. Maybe he's got something else planned. But then the other central truth in the text is that sometimes God will not respond to us until we are ready. Sometimes God does not answer our prayers, or does not respond to our prayers because he does not think that we are ready. And the key, I believe, to seeing that in the text is that word patient. Psalmist said, I waited patiently on the Lord. And I just wonder, if I just could use my spiritual imagination for a while, I wonder if he started out patient. I mean, he's talking about he's crying to the Lord, so there's some duration that's going on there. There's some time period. But I wonder if he started out crying to the Lord and expecting God to do something right then and there. But then God holds out so that he can teach him how to be patient, how to learn to wait on God, how to learn to trust God more, how to learn to not get so worried and so frazzled if God does not answer right away. He learns this idea of patience, and I believe it's James that says, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations and trials, knowing that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Sometimes we won't learn patience if God swoops in and does something for us right away. So God has to make sure that we are ready before he begins to answer our prayer. I was in the store one day and saw a mother, and there's this baby of hers, and the baby evidently wants something. Baby is crying, hands up, just crying, making a scene, fussing, crying, and I don't know what it is the baby wanted at first. I didn't know until I watched for a while, but I see this baby crying, and the mother would not give the baby whatever it was that the baby wanted. And then the mother kept looking and calm down, relax, calm down, relax. And as soon as the baby stopped crying, the mother pulled out a baggie with some goldfish. The kid loved them goldfish. Took out a baggie with some goldfish and gave the child the baggie of goldfish that the child wanted. The mother had to teach that child something. That you can't get what you want just because you calling and crying and rolling and slobbing. You can't get what you want just because you want something on demand. You got to learn patience. And as soon as that mother saw that that child was ready, then she gave that child what the child wanted. There was a young boy who had 15 years old and just gotten his permit, driving permit, and he was excited. Couldn't wait to get out and drive. Mama, take me out driving. Mom, would you take me out driving? I want to go out driving. Take me out driving. He's so excited, 15 years old, and just got his license, wants to go out driving. So she finally said, all right, I'm going to take you out driving. So they get in the car, and the boy is getting himself together, and she's trying to say, okay, let me give you some direction. I know, Ma, I already know. Let me show you how. I know what I'm doing. I know. He's excited. He thinks he's ready. I know what I'm doing. And she's trying to tell him, I know what I'm doing. He had never driven that particular car before. And so as soon as he turned the car on, touches the gas just a little bit, the car backs out and runs into a mailbox. He was ready, he thought. He thought he had it under control. He thought that he knew what he was doing, but he ended up crashing the car. And sometimes God is looking at us and we're saying, I'm ready, I need it, give it to me now, I want it right now. But God knows that if he gives you what you want right now, you ain't gonna do nothing but crash. You ain't gonna do nothing but mess up with it. So sometimes God does not respond to us because he knows that we are not ready. Those are two central truths that are found there in the text. So then on to our question. What happens when we wait on God? What are the benefits for waiting on God? What's the blessing that comes? My yard is not in the condition that I like it to be in. It seemed like these past 3 years since I started school and everything, something got to give. You just can't do everything. And now I got these weeds and these dandelions and all kind of mess. Britton had his thing prom and Trace kind of hinted to me, we should have just went over to the girls' house because our yard is looking a mess. She just kind of threw that out there on me. And oh Lord, the yard's just looking bad. And so we were in the house, and I don't know what we were doing. I think it was earlier during the week. And the True Green, I think it is, came to the house, knocking on the door. And normally when them people come by the house and they knock on the door trying to sell something, I don't want to be bothered with them gone, But since my yard is a mess, he had my attention. So we went and we were outside talking, and he was telling me all the things they could do, the applications they could put on and all this kind of stuff. And we got this wonderful sale going on right now. And I said, okay, yes, I'll do it. Sign me up. I need it. And then he said, but then wait a minute. He said, wait now. He said, if we wait till probably next week, there may be another sale going on. And so if we wait, then you might be able to take advantage of that sale. And so I said, well, you're all right. I'm looking at the yard and I'm saying, well, I think I just need something right now. Just go ahead and put it down right now. But he said, but if you wait, and I'm thinking, well, what if it's not a sale? What if it's the same? I could have had it done, started getting it going. And so I told him, listen, just call me Friday. I have a little money on Friday. You come by and then we can see what's going on. And so he called me up on Friday. He said, listen, the sale that I was talking about is going to happen. And if you just wait till next week, then you can get even more money off, 25% instead of 7%, and you can get this and that. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. I'll wait. But if I had been impatient, if I would have just said, you know what, I want it done now, my lawn is a mess now, then I would have missed out on the blessing of the benefit of waiting just a little while. And so what are the benefits, the blessings that come when we wait Well, I think the text first of all tells us that when we wait on God, the first thing that he'll do is he will pull us up. God pulls us up when we wait on God. Look at the text there. He said, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me. He heard my cry. And then verse 2, he lifted me up out of the slimy pit. He'll pull us up. Now, to really understand this, you got to think about what life is. Life really, if anybody has lived life any length of time, you know life is a journey. Life is one of them things that you are constantly progressing. Even if you don't want to, you're constantly moving forward. You're constantly progressing. You're constantly going on. You are on this journey called life. And Thomas Aquinas tells us that we're headed somewhere. He calls it the final beatitude, the final happiness. God has designed it really for all of us to end up going in his direction. We all don't, but that's the way God designed it. We are on this path of life. But we also know that life is not an easy path. Life is not an easy road. Life is full of ups and downs and hills and valleys and twists and turns and rough places and sharp gadget rocks. And life is just a difficult time. And sometimes in life, as we're moving through, we fall into what I call the quicksand of life. We're just going along in life and we get off the path that we're supposed to be on and we fall into the quicksand of life. And once we get down in that quicksand of life, then we start to struggle and we start trying to get out of that quicksand. On our own, we start trying to panic and we want to get out of the quicksand, but you know what happens with quicksand. The more you panic in quicksand, the more you move around, the further you sink down and down and down. And we're reaching and we're grabbing on a vine, but the vine ain't connected to nothing. We grab on a branch, but the branch ain't strong enough to hold us. We grab on our education, but the education won't pull us out. We grab on that job, but the job won't get us out. We grab on our financial situation, but that's not strong enough to carry our weight. We grab on all this stuff trying to get out of the quicksand of life, but we only end up sinking down further. But thanks be to God, God will pull us up if we wait on him. If we stop panicking and stop trying to get out on our own, God will pull us. He'll pull us out. So sometimes you ask yourself, why am I deep down in this situation that I'm in? Why is it that I can't seem to get my way out? Why can't I climb out? Why am I in debt? Why am I struggling with this? Why am I in this relationship and it's messing me up? Why is this happening to me? Maybe you need to stop struggling and straining. And maybe you need to start waiting on God. And I know that when you're in that quicksand of life, it seems like you're not going to make it. Seems like you're going to die. Seems like there's no way out. But God is saying, just trust me. Just hold on to me. Just wait on me. And I promise that I'll get you out. Because God never. Listen, see, the text is interesting. If I can just back up for a second. It said, I waited patiently on the Lord. And he turned to me and heard my cry. That's what the NIV says. The King James, I believe, says he inclined unto me. And that word turn is not really the best word to use because it gives indication that God is somewhere doing something else. It gives indication that God is somewhere preoccupied and you're back there drowning in the quicksand of life and God is busy and he don't know what's going on and then all of a sudden he hears you and he's got to turn and then you're almost dead. But that's not what that word means. That word simply means that when you cry out to him, what God does is he gives you his undivided attention. That's what God, he's always there. He's always watching you, but he wants you to get used to having a prayer life. And when you call out to him, what he does is he pauses and he gets down in your situation and he gives you his undivided attention as if though you were the only person in the universe. Now, isn't that something? Isn't it something that the great God of the universe, the God Almighty, the one who spoke the winds and the waves into existence, that same God will give you his undivided attention? It's almost like if the president came to town and all of us grown folk was standing up here and thinking that we're supposed to get audience with the president, and he goes and finds us the youngest child, the most insignificant person, and goes and leaves all of us aside and goes and gets down to where they are. That's what God does for you and I. He comes down to where we are. Didn't he come down? The Bible said he came down through 40 and 2 generations. He came all the way down just to see about not just us, but you. He came to see about you. And that's the kind of God that we serve. He said, I cried to the Lord, and he turned. He inclined himself unto me while I was down in the muck and the mire. And see, that's the thing, when we think about this muck and this mire, this slimy pit, sometimes we think of it as just some bad situation, but really, a lot of time, that muck and that mire is our own sin and our own iniquity. And sometimes we get trapped up in our own sin because we keep trying to do things that God does not want us to do. We end up getting trapped up and caught up and bound up in our own sin. That's why the Bible said that we ought not be entangled. He has set us free, but he said, be not entangled again, Galatians chapter 5, I believe it is, with the yoke of bondage. And that's what we tend to do. God will set us free. He gets us out of it. And then what do? Keep looking back over there. Say, God done set me free. I keep looking back. And we keep hearing everybody over there sound like they're having fun. Sound like they're having a good time. We hear the noise, and as soon as we get over there, we find out they weren't really having a good time. What they were really doing was crying and screaming and yelling, but now it's too late because we've fallen back in the trap. And that's what the devil wants. He wants to trap us up and mess us up so that we are no good to nobody. But thanks be to God that if we wait on him, he pulls us up. But not only does he pull us up, then the Bible says, I believe the text teaches us that he sets us up. He does not just pull us up, but he sets us up. Look there at the text. I'm not making it up. It says he lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the miry, the mud and the mire. And then it says, and he set my feet on a rock, and he gave me a firm place to stand. He set my feet on a rock, and he gave me a firm place to stand. It suggests that he gives me this solid foundation, and it also suggests that he puts me in a safe place. When we think about being up on a rock, we are in a place that is safe, where none of the enemies can get to me that easy, where none of the elements can touch me that easy. I'm up on a rock, and I'm in this safe place, and I've got this solid footing. And why does he do it? Well, he does it so that we can rest a while. Because we're on this journey, and we're moving around on this journey, and life gets tired, and life gets difficult, and we get in them pits, and we get to swimming around, and so he gets us out, and he says, look here, I'm going to sit you here in a safe place, and I want you to rest a while. I want you to relax a while. I want you to get rejuvenated for a little while. But sometimes the problem is we want to stay there, and that's what we can't do. God does not call us ever to be stagnant. God does not call us ever to stop moving, but he always has something for us to do. He always has work for us to do for his kingdom, for his glory. And so you can't just stop on the rock. You've got to rest up, and then you've got to get back to work. You ought to read. You ought to read when you have a chance. Read the biography of Harriet Tubman by Catherine Clinton. You read that, and you'll find out some wonderful, that was a marvelous woman, ingenious woman. But one of the things that Harriet used to do is that they would get there, she would get around the slaves, she would get them off the plantation, and they would get to running, and they'd be going on that Underground Railroad through them woods and all that kind of stuff, and they'd get to a certain place, and sometimes, and what's really sad about it, and I don't know if this is Clinton's interpretation or if this is her telling the story, but it was always the men who would want to stop. I don't know what that is. In fact, when I critiqued the book I wrote, I said, this lady she don't like men too much because it was always men that was messing up. But anyway. So they would get out there and, they're running for freedom. And so, minimal food and minimal shelter and minimal, everything they left behind what they had, but now they have less because they're out here in these woods, they're scared, and so they would take breaks. They would stop every now and then. But when they would take these breaks, every now and then one of them didn't want to move no further. Sometimes they even wanted to go back. But you know what Harriet Tubman used to do? She would pull out a revolver. And she would say, now look here, we done came out off that plantation. But we didn't come here and to get caught. We came so we can keep on going. And even though we are off the plantation, we are not free yet. We don't get free until we reach, sometimes she would take them all the way up to Canada. And so she would take that gun and she would say, if you don't move, something getting ready to happen. And that's what God has to do with us sometimes. Because sometimes we get to a place where we don't want to move no more. Sometimes we get to a place where we want to stay stagnant in our mess. And the problem with staying stagnant in your mess is that after a while you get used to your mess. Sometimes when things are out of order, maybe maybe in your house or maybe on your lawn or something like that, things get out of order, and after a while you don't see it the same way as you saw it when it first got out of order. After a while you get used to it looking like that. You get used to the mess. You get used to the junk. And sometimes it takes somebody else to come by and say, look, man, this is a mess. Just to remind you that it ain't supposed to be like that. You're not supposed to be functioning like that. That's why them folk that are on them shows with them hoarders get in that place and they just start thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be. Until people come in and say, no, this is a mess. And they have a hard time breaking up with all that stuff because they have gotten so accustomed to the mess in their lives. And God sees you, and he sees that sometimes you get some mess in your life. And instead of you wanting to get rid of that mess, you want to get stagnant, and you start thinking that mess is normal, and mess is okay, and mess is good. Well, really, it's not good, and so God had to pull that revolver out and get you going. He sets you up on the rock so that you can have time to rest and relax for a while, but the idea is to get back down in the valley where the action is. Get back down to where the work is. Jesus said, I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day, because the night cometh when no man can work. We've got work to do, saints of God. We've got something that God has for us to do, and we've got to get busy doing it with all of our vigor and our vitality. Everything we've got to get to doing it for the Lord. And if you are not doing nothing for the Lord, I encourage you today, find something to do. Ask him, Lord, what do you want me to be doing for you? How do you want me to serve you? What do you want me to do in this life that will glorify you? Let me move on. So he'll set us up. But then not only will he set us up, but then, and I'm almost done, he will lift us up. He will fill us up. When we wait on him, what God will do next is he'll fill us up. Look at the text again. It says that he set my feet on a rock, gave me a firm place to stand. And then verse 3 says, and he put a new song in my mouth. He put a new song in my mouth. That is an indication that he has placed something in you that was not there before. That is an indication that he has deposited something down on the inside of you that perhaps you were lacking before. When David had sinned with Bathsheba, you look at Psalm 51. One of the things he said, restore unto me the joy of my salvation. He does not say, restore unto me my salvation. He never lost that. He said, restore unto me the joy of my salvation. There's something that we have when we are in God and when we are walking with God that is joyful, that is enjoyable. And David had lost that when he got off track, and he said, I need you to fill me up. In the 80s, I Gatorade. I think they came out around there. I don't know. I know I was young. Gatorade. And Gatorade, I'm sure back then they sold a lot of Gatorade because they got you to believing that when you do a lot of strenuous work, exercise, then you lose electrolytes. That's what they would tell you. You lose out on electrolytes. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. But Gatorade is better than water, and God made water, and I don't know if water has electrolytes or not. But anyway, you lose electrolytes. And so what you got to do is you got to get some Gatorade so that you can replenish the electrolytes. You got to get some Gatorade in you because you got to replace what you lost. Because you've been going a long time working hard and strenuous, and all your electrolytes are gone, and now you need some more. Well, I'm here to tell you that when you are walking the path of life, when you are doing what God has called you to do, you begin to get depleted sometimes. Sometimes this Christian life can just take all of the strength out of it. Sometimes ministry can take all of the joy out of you. Sometimes doing the work of the Lord can zap you of all of your vigor and vitality. And what you need are some godly electrolytes. You need God to pour something back in you that you have lost so that you can now sing that new song, so that you can praise the Lord again, so that you can shout glory again, so that you can have strength to keep on going again. God will fill you up. If you need peace, He'll restore your peace. If you need joy, He'll restore your joy. If you need some more long suffering, He'll restore your long suffering. If you need some more patience, He'll restore your patience. Whatever it is that you need, I'm here to tell you, if you wait on Him, God will fill you up. Won't He do it? Is there anybody here who knows that when you experience being down and out and in despair, and God stop by and give you what you need, He'll fill you up. Then, after He fills you up, and after you got that new song, and after you come, and by the way, now it just dawned on me. It just dawned on me. Why sometimes we come up in here and can't praise the Lord like we need to be praising the Lord. Maybe you need to be filled up. Maybe you came in here and you was drained, and you was empty. And maybe life just got you so bad that you can't think about nothing but what's going on out there. What you got to do is you got to come up in here, and the first thing you ought to say is not talk about the game, not talk about the social activity you was at Friday. Don't talk about that. The first thing you ought to do is get somewhere in one of these seats, and you ought to start praying, Lord, fill me up. Lord, I've come to your house, and I want to get some more of you. I want to get something out of what I came here for. Lord, fill me up. And the Bible said that He will fill you up, and your cup, David said, will runneth over. He does not hesitate in filling you up. He'll give you more than what you need. Thanks be to God, we've got a God that's in the business of filling us up till it's got to come out, and then you'll start singing like God done did something in your life. Then you'll start singing loud and shouting and praising the Lord like something good has happened in your life, because now you are filled up. He'll fill you up. Then finally, so God, when you wait on Him, He'll pull you up. Then He'll set you up. Then He'll fill you up. And I'm about at my time here. He'll fill you up, and then He will hold you up. He'll hold you up. And that's not what you think it means. What do you mean, preacher, by hold you up? Well, look at what He says here in verse 3 again. He says He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. But then listen to what He said. He said, and many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him. He said, whatever I'm doing for you, many will see it. And that is what I mean by holding you up. It's kind of like that show, Pimp My Ride. Can I say pimp in the pulpit? I don't know if I can or not. But you know what, I'll tell you this. Out of all this church, this area right here is mine. So I can say whatever I want to say. And on that show, what they do is they take the worst car they can find. It's almost exaggerated. It's almost fake. I mean, these cars, I ain't never seen no car that bad in my life. Some of these cars they bring on there, but they bring the worst car that they can find, and then they let these guys do their thing, and after a while they come back and that car looks like something totally, completely opposite and different than it was when it started. And the worse the car is, the better we cheer them guys on. The worse condition that car was in when they started, the more talent we believe those guys have. The worse condition the car was in when it started, the more we give those guys glory. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know about you, but I'm like one of them junk cars. I'm one of them cars with the door hanging off. I'm one of them cars that don't have no engine under the hood. I was one of those cars that couldn't go from A to B without breaking down. But thanks be to God, God got a hold of me. God got a hold of me and he changed my life. He made me over again. And now what he does is he holds me up so that everybody can see. Not so that I can get some glory, but so that God can get some glory. And really, my brothers and sisters, that is what this is all about. God holds you up so that you can say, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. God holds you up so that you can say, blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust, whose hope the Lord is. God holds you up so you can say, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Blind, but now I see. He holds you up so that you can say, I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, seeking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. From the waters he lifted me. Now saved, 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 saved am I. That's why he does it. He lifts you up. He builds you up. He strengthens you. He holds you up so you can say that God is a good God. Yes, he is. God is a good God. Yes, he is. God is a good God. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Ain't he all right? I said, ain't he all right? Ain't the man all right? Thanks be to God. We serve an all right God. Thanks be to God. That when we wait on him, he'll pick us up. When we wait on him, he'll hold us up. When we wait on him, he'll set us up. Thanks be to God. You got to wait on him. The Bible says, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They'll mount up with wings as eagles. They'll run but not be weary. They will walk and not faint. We've got to learn how to wait on the Lord because there's a blessing in it for us. Everyone standing. Everyone standing. If you're here today, and you have never made Jesus Lord of your life, you never said in so many words, Lord, I know I'm a sinner, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I need salvation. If you were to